friends, my name is Miranda. Welcome back to my universe. Happy Miranda Monday. Today I am talking about Powerless by Lauren Roberts. It's about time I finished this novel and I talked about it. There is so much chatter online about this novel. If you've heard it or not, there's a lot of talk. So I wanted to hear what all of the talk was about. What's going on in the Powerless universe? What's happening? What do I think about this book? And boy, oh boy, do I feel a lot of things. As always, this video will be spoiler free, so feel free to watch as much of it as you would like. I will be going over a base synopsis of the novel, what is it about kind of deal. I will also be going over characters, plot line, and then my overall feelings of the novel. I will say my reading experience with this book was a bit rocky. I enjoyed the very beginning of this novel. I had a lot of issues. Well, maybe not a lot. A bunch of tiny little issues, things that just kind of irked me a little bit, but they piled up as I read throughout the novel. And then towards the end of the book, I really loved it. Ending actually made me wish I could give it 5 stars. However, I can't overlook all of my issues that I had with it throughout. With all that being said, I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. Wish it could have been 5 out of 5, but I feel like even 4 out of 5 is pretty generous. So let's talk about it. What is Powerless about? Powerless is a young adult fantasy novel that's actually the first book in a trilogy, and it follows around our 2 main characters, Peyton and Prince Kai. Peyton is someone known as an ordinary who has no powers, which is very unfortunate for her because this book is set in a world where powers dictate how you are treated in life and if you even get to survive at all. By the order of the king, you are not allowed to live if you are an ordinary. If you don't have any power at all, you are killed by none other than Prince Kai, his son, who is preparing to be a future enforcer, is what they call. That is the title that he is working towards, basically like the head officer, head soldier, kind of down that same vein. Of course, as you could expect, Peyton is in hiding from Prince Kai, from basically everybody. She was raised by her father, who spun this lie for her that she tells everybody, basically to cover her butt and make sure that she can survive. So everybody believes that she has a power, even though she doesn't. And so she has been living in what they call loot, which is a specific sector of the kingdom, but a lot of poor people live there, a lot of mundanes, so people with very low status powers live there. They can't really afford to feed themselves, even properly clothe themselves. So Peyton has grown up in that environment. She steals to even afford food and clothing and various things. And she lives with her best friend, Adina. Now, Adina is a seamstress. She is a pretty big supportive character. And this series actually has a novella that is all about her called Powerful. I also read that one, very good. Now let's move on to Prince Kai. So Prince Kai is very complex. He has a lot of different layers here. His father is very brutalist with him, has put him through very traumatic training to become the future enforcer. He's put a lot of pressure and a lot of weight on his shoulders from a very young age. I believe Prince Kai killed his first person when he was 16 years old, maybe even 15 or 14. I'm actually forgetting. That's my bad. But from a fairly young age, he has been raised on killing people, been raised on violence. They end up meeting up at one point and Peyton actually steals from him. And thus begins our entire book. Now, the first category I want to go over is characters. I loved these characters in Powerless. I feel like our main ones were very strong, very complex, had a lot of experiences in their past, things that are haunting them, ghosts, if you will, that really made them very deep and interesting. I found both of our characters, Prince Kai and Peyton, and a lot of the other supportive characters to be very intriguing and profound. I specifically really like Prince Kai and his brother Prince Kit. Their dynamic specifically was probably my favorite in the entire novel. Just because I personally am really close with my siblings, so seeing them just in their banter and how they just hang out and just the complexity of their brotherly relationship on top of all of their duties to their kingdom, since Prince Kit is the firstborn, so he is going to one day inherit the kingdom. And then we have Prince Kai, who is a traumatized mess at times. So there's just a lot of things happening, right, in their dynamic, in their relationship, and in their family. I really like Prince Kit also. He's probably not my favorite. I really like Prince Kai. Lauren Roberts did a really good job with building her characters and giving them a backbone and giving them depth. For sure, this book did a fantastic job with that. I felt like every character had a purpose and had a role to play. They were not just thrown in there for filler. They weren't just thrown in there to be able to get easily killed off later on in the book. Like, everyone played a significant role. I really liked our characters in this novel. Moving on to plotline, this is where it gets a little bit interesting. A lot of elements in this novel reflect a lot of other young adult series. What I mean by that is a main chunk of this book follows around something called the trials, in which children are put through various things that they need to accomplish or do in order to move on in the trials, and they are thrown into arenas. As someone who just finished reading the Hunger Games series, let me tell you, I see the parallels. A big issue people have with this novel is that it pulls heavily and is greatly inspired, almost to the point of plagiarism, by the Hunger Games. I've also heard it takes a lot of inspiration from the Red Queen series. I read the Red Queen a very long time ago, so I don't remember exactly what it's about. However, a lot of people are saying that Powerless reads almost exactly like the Red Queen, and so a lot of people are upset, which, I mean, rightfully so. I just don't really see a reason for me personally to be complaining or whining about that. My experience with it, not taking anybody's input at all, separating myself out of all that drama, right? My personal experience was I just would read certain lines or I would read certain scenes and I would take kind of a step back and think, wow, that seems extremely similar to another series that I really love. But it was never deeper than that. It never hindered my enjoyment of the novel. It never made me question whether I should put the book down or not. I overall just kind of brushed past a lot of those moments. And even if you don't look past them, right? Like, even if you take all those scenes, all those characters even that are super similar to the characters in the Hunger Games or the scenes in the Hunger Games, if you hold on to those and you continue on with the novel, with those in mind, this book is still different, right? It's still different. So plot overall, though it draws a lot of inspiration from a lot of various other series, I enjoyed it. I did. I do think, and this is something I could have probably talked about in the character section as well, but it kind of intermingles with character and plot. The pacing of the relationship in this novel is very interesting to me. I really struggled with the love triangle, which I love the love triangle trope. Do not get me wrong, it's one of my favorites. But I really struggled in this sense and in this case. I just felt like the relationship was emotionally rushed. So, yeah. Overall, I really enjoyed the plot and I think there was a lot of excitement and a lot of things happening and moving, and I was always engaged and I never wanted to put this book down, even though I had to because I have responsibilities. All right, now moving on to my feelings overall of this novel. Like I just said, I did struggle a lot with the pacing of the relationship to the point where that did really hinder my enjoyment of the novel for a long time. I felt like I might not even want to pick up the rest of the series. It was so hard for me to get past. It was just weird. It was interesting. That really kind of irked me and itched me the wrong way. What's that saying? Rubbed me the wrong way. But yeah, overall, I really liked this book. I would recommend it to people. I do think it gets better at the end. Forgot to mention that as well. I think this relationship and everything, the plot, all of it, like, it gets so beautiful at the end. It all intertwines and it all makes sense. And something happens, of course, because this is a trilogy, right? There are other books to the series, but something happens that makes you want more. I have to know what happens next. So it was great, a very good experience. I enjoyed it overall. And with all that being said, that is my book review of Powerless by Lauren Roberts. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, if you have your own feelings about this novel that you would like to share with me, please do comment down below. I would love to talk to you about this book, about any book, really. Doesn't matter to me. I love talking about the things that I love. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to give me a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and thank you for sticking through this video with me. Thank you for supporting me and being there for me. I love you all so much. Please be safe, make good choices, and I definitely will be seeing you next time. Bye!